ultimately, and Scott's data points this out all the time, people make decisions based on their pocketbooks more than any other type of variable. So no matter what race, culture, creed you have, you vote by what's going on in your own bank account and what's going on in your own family, what's going on in your own backyard. That's how Democrats should be looking at this, because when they try the one-size-fits-all thing when it comes to other cultures and other races, they end up alienating a lot of people. That's why that at times they have trouble with the Hispanic community, because what works for the black community may not work for the Hispanic community, which may not work for the AAPI community.
We look at the polling across the battleground. Biden is losing to Trump among working-class voters by 16 points. Arizona down 9, Georgia down 21, Michigan down 24 working-class voters, huge African-American population in Michigan. Nevada, huge Hispanic population, same thing. Pennsylvania down 19 points. Wisconsin, with less of a working-class minority population, only down 6 points. Scott, does barnstorming from historically black college to NAACP dinner to the Smithsonian Museum on African American History change anything?
Probably not at the top line. I think your undertone there is it's working class. It's not so much the ethnicity of them, it's their income level, right? We know from the polling that Donald Trump does better among the working class voters, and it's simple. There are just more working class voters than there are upper middle class or certainly upper class voters, no matter what their race is.
Does the working class divide also speak to culture?
I think it can, sure. But again, I think like Scott says, ultimately, there is the pocket of voters where there is the most constituency is anyone that's not upper class, anything beneath that. And that's where Democrats, listen, if we have a good economy.
America, to be fair, America isn't 50-50 working class and upper class, right, Scott? But yet Joe Biden and Donald Trump nationwide are effectively tied. So what are the other constituencies there?
Well, obviously you can do it socioeconomic, but you can do it on issue as well. To your point, they're tied 50-50. That stat you showed up, it's not that Joe Biden is losing African Americans. It's just that he's losing more of them than they've done historically in the past. When you have razor-thin margins, all Donald Trump has to do is get 10% more of the African American vote, and he wins Michigan. He wins Wisconsin. So he doesn't need to win the whole section. He just needs to peel off some.
So you say that the issue of talking about racial issues does not trump, no pun intended, the economic issues. Jamie Dimon of J.P. Morgan talked about the inflation issue coming up in the next 6 months or so. Take a listen.
I think the underlying inflation may not go away the way people expect it to. And I look at the future, like a lot of things we look at are kind of inflationary. The green economy, the remilitarization of the world, the infrastructure requirements.
All right, and these are just numbers. Under the Biden presidency, grocery prices up nearly 1/3, gas up 50%. The average American, it cost them $12,000 more to maintain the same living standards as before Biden took office. Scott, 6 months, how do you turn that around?
You don't. Look, you and I have been talking, I think you and I, for the last 2 years, every segment we talk about inflation. The stat right there, $12,000 more. When the average home median income is around $80,000, it's an extra $1,000 a month they're spending on stuff that they think they have to buy. And they do have to buy milk, bread, all that kind of stuff. You can't turn that around unless you can slash basic staples by 30, 40%.
Car insurance isn't going to all of a sudden start coming out. We want to put those live pictures of Minnesota back up, which I think is interesting, Kurt, because President Trump is otherwise occupied during the week right now. He's got somewhere he's got to be in New York. Where you choose to go is important. And Joe Biden's in Atlanta, Georgia, which is a swing state. And Donald Trump is in a state that should be safely blue. It shouldn't even be on the Republican map. The fact that he's there may not mean that he wins, but does it force Democrats to start playing defense in more places?
I don't think it does. I think in this case, Minnesota is to Republicans what Florida is to the Democrats. They keep chasing these states. They're not going to go back. It's not going to go to red, just like Florida's not going to go to blue. But ultimately, too, I think one of the key things here, and for all that we talk about the economy, we say this, too. Never underestimate the Republicans' ability to blow it. It would be great if Republicans spent all of their time talking about inflation and the economy, but instead they do things.
You mean it would be great for Republicans?
Great for Republicans and their chances to win, but instead they do things like Katie Britt introducing legislation to create some sort of national pregnancy database. It's like, why would you do that? If the election is about inflation and the economy, Republicans win.